What is going on, Trash Talkers? We are back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to give you our predictions for the Denver Broncos in the 2022 NFL season. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, before we get into today's video, be sure to hit that subscribe button and like the video as it will help us out tremendously. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video. All right, Nick, as the 2022 season is fast approaching, we have another team to get to today. We're going to be talking about the Denver Broncos. The Broncos made some headlines this offseason with a massive trade. We're going to get to that in just a second. The Denver Broncos, they are in a tough spot. I mean, they have the Raiders, the Chargers, the Chiefs in their division, arguably the best division in football, and they have to compete with that. And when you take a look at some of the guys that they brought in, they are tooling up to prepare for that. You talk about, Russell Wilson, the big-time quarterback from the Seattle Seahawks, Super Bowl MVP, a guy who's been there and done it before. He's been to the stage multiple times. He knows how to win in this league. I think that was a massive upgrade from Drew Lock. On top of that, you signed the big defensive end Randy Gregory from the Dallas Cowboys, 5-year, $70 million deal, helping that edge rush opposite Bradley Chubb. It's really going to be one hell of a matchup against some of these top tier teams. And then you also bring in a guy like Alex Singleton, the big time linebacker from the Philadelphia Eagles, a guy who can run sideline to sideline. He can stop the run. He's great in zone coverage and can stop passes as well. I really like the fit with the Denver Broncos, and I really think that they are tooling up for a solid season. When you take a look at some of the players that they lost, though, obviously as part of the trade for Russell Wilson, they had to give up some key players. That included Shelby Harris, the big-time defensive tackle, Noah Fant, one of the best tight ends that the sport of football has to offer, and then in free agency, they lost a ton of talented players, but none greater than Kareem Jackson, the big-time cornerback that they had all season last year. This team has seen a lot of turnover this year. It is going to be one hell of a matchup for them as they start the season. But Nick, why don't you get us started the first 6 weeks of the season? How did the Denver Broncos fare in that time?
Yeah, well, with the Denver Broncos now having Russell Wilson, the offense should start picking up. And as we have it in the first 6 weeks, they go 4-2. And I want to look at a couple of their games, starting with week 1 against the Seattle Seahawks. Back in Seattle, Russell Wilson taking on his old team with 12th man against him this time. It's going to be a tough environment, but I believe that Russell Wilson, with all of his new weapons, will be able to show up and show Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf that he's got some new friends, and they've come to play as well. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, these guys are going to be absolutely massive for the Denver Broncos this season, and with Russell Wilson and Javonte Williams behind center, this is going to be one tough offense to stop, and I think that they're going to absolutely plow over Seattle in a very big week 1 victory. And another game I want to look at is coming in week 4 against the Las Vegas Raiders, their first time facing a divisional opponent this year, another team that has completely overhauled their roster. This is the first time we get to see them, and it's going to be a tough game being at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, tough environment to play in, but now you got to go up against Devontae Adams. I think that's going to be a very tough matchup for Patrick Surtain. He has not seen a test like Devontae Adams thus far in his NFL career. I think this is going to really test the defense of the Broncos, but I don't think it's going to turn out well as the Raiders come out on top.
Yeah, when you take a look at the first 6 weeks of the season, the Broncos have very favorable matchups, but when you take a look at the teams that they have to go play against in their home stadiums, in their division, the Raiders, the Chargers, obviously tough tests. But things get a little bit easier when you look at the next 6 games, starting off with week 7 and 8 against the Jets and the Jaguars. Those are very easy games. I want to talk about week 10, the Tennessee Titans going into Tennessee. Derrick Henry is an absolute manimal. He is somebody that cannot be stopped, only limited, and even that is extremely difficult to get done. I believe that Derrick Henry is going to be able to run roughshod over the middle of this defense. They have nobody in the middle that is going to be able to stop this guy from getting 200 plus rushing yards. I fully expect the Titans to win this game, but there is a bounce back the next week in week 11. The Las Vegas Raiders will be coming to Mile High Stadium in Denver, taking on the Broncos, and seeing them just 7 weeks prior understanding what Devontae Adams, what Derek Carr have in this new Josh McDaniels system. I expect that the Broncos are going to be ready for it the second time around. We see them getting a victory here, and the Denver Broncos finish up the second stretch of their schedule 8-3.
And when we look at the last 6 games of the season, it doesn't look too bright, as we have them going 1-5 to end the season with a 9-8 overall record, with that one win being against the Arizona Cardinals in week 15. This is a game where they're going to have DeAndre Hopkins, the Arizona Cardinals will, and it's going to be a very tough matchup along with the rest of the 5 games they have to play at the back end. But this is one game where I believe that Russell Wilson knows the opponent, knows that defense very well, will be able to scheme up against them and get this offense to cooperate and get past the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray. That's a big win for them right there. But we also have them losing both games against the Kansas City Chiefs, and I want to look at week 14. This is a game in Denver, in Mile High, and this is a place where the Kansas City Chiefs tend to have some struggles. They don't always have easy roads here, and with Russell Wilson, it shouldn't be an easier road. It should be much harder for the Kansas City Chiefs to go into Mile High and get a win, but I believe the Kansas City Chiefs have made some massive improvements themselves, and Russell Wilson's great and all, but when you look at everybody else, have they really added the depth necessary to get past the other teams in this division? I just think that the Denver Broncos find themselves at the bottom, yet they still have a winning record at the end of the season.
9-8 is not ideal for what Denver Broncos fans thought when they traded for Russell Wilson, but taking a look at all of the moves that we saw through the Las Vegas Raiders, the Los Angeles Chargers, and obviously the Kansas City Chiefs, Nick, that you noted, these teams are so much more talented and they're so much better. The Broncos are going to have a very struggling final stretch of the season as we take a look at their final 6 games, only winning one of them. I fully expect that the Broncos are going to be fighting for their playoff lives. They could possibly sneak in for a 7 seed. So you guys have to keep up with our series. Make sure you tune in every single week to see where other teams in the AFC fall and whether the Broncos make it to the playoffs. All right, well, that's going to be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.